Hey, so welcome to whatever show. G Spot's gone today, so I'm running the stream. So excuse me for accidentally leaving the title up as episode one, but this is episode five of the whatever show. Uh, we've got Guccione guest co-hosting with me, and Gucheetah is our special guest. So let me go through my spiel real quick. Welcome to the fifth episode of the Whatever Show. Special thank you to the other side and other games.xyz. Uh, Basically, we're going to have a little bit shorter episodes today because G Spot's gone. We have Guccione, an artist and photographer from the Ape Chain community, as our guest and co host for today's episode. On our show, we want to showcase the most talented artists and builders in Web3, especially those building on Ape Chain and the other side. So, when people make decisions on where they choose to spend their time, attention, and money, it comes down to knowing and trusting the faces behind the projects. So on the show, we like to take a deeper dive into our guests themselves, their background and origin stories. So the Whatever Show is for people to just learn about how artists and founders in the space found success and how to get started building on ApeChain and the other side. So with that, I'd like to introduce our special guest, Gucheetah, founder of Fashion Line House OG and the show Unboxing Web3. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you guys for joining. So we all know each other from a while back from Gucci Grails. So it's nice to talk to you guys again. Um, Before we really get into it, I thought it was interesting what we were talking about right beforehand, a little bit about Ape Fest. So Guccione is running some kind of psyop campaign basically to convince people that Ape Fest is going to be in Miami. I'm pretty convinced at this point it's going to be in Charleston. But I've never been to People's Studio yet, and Gucheetah was telling us about attending the grand opening. Can you tell us what it was like attending the grand opening at People's Studio?
It was amazing. I mean, just no one had seen any pictures or anything of the studio, so seeing it for the first time, it was awesome. It's like our Warhol factory. We have the leading artist in this genre, and it's his playground. Um, Everything was a cool surprise. Like I remember being in there, and the first part of the event was in half the space, which is his. It's almost like a museum of him and his art throughout his years, from like a kid all the way to present time. And he's got this one wall that has probably, I don't know, probably like 70 feet long, and it has all 5,000 everydays on the wall. And I'm looking at them, and then I look over and I see what looks like Elon Musk. And then I see Kim Jong Un, and then Andy Warhol and Picasso. He had all these people wearing these lifelike masks, the same ones that are on the regular animals that you might have seen.
At Art Basel.
So it was like this Wonderland playground. All the iconic artists and billionaires are like admiring the art, and all these surprises unfolded throughout the night, culminating with raining down millions of dollars worth of art and NFTs on everybody, which was like just such a wild thing to do. Only people.
Tell us about how he blessed people with millions of dollars worth of NFTs and what your strategy was.
Oh, so I at one point there's he's making it every day. So on the other side of the studios, one side is like a museum to his work. The other side's like a party, digital, insane room, maybe like the size of a basketball court, 30-foot ceilings, digital displays, wrapping the walls, all the columns, all the tables. It's like you're inside the metaverse. And he was creating an everyday live in front of everybody, almost like a DJ would. Everybody's crowded around. He's quickly making the art. All the music's going. And all of a sudden, all the screens turn into red alarms, and sirens are going off. And then on all around you, it says airdrop incoming. And then from the ceiling, there were maybe 30 printers, and art would start falling from these printers, and they would fall like leaves. It takes some time for them to get into reach, and so people are picking these up, no big deal, trying to see what this is all about. Eventually, people realize that some of these say NFT on them. Says like at the bottom, it says like, "Holy shit, what the fuck? Did I really just win an NFT? Oh my god, boner, boner, whatever." Like all of people's language, and so once people realize that some of these were NFTs, people started to get like, aggressive. They want to fucking people. So I'm like, I find a printer in the back corner, and I'm just standing under there, and I'm watching people run from like area to area where the art's falling, and I'm just waiting patiently for the one above me to start dropping art. And it took like 30 minutes, but eventually the printer above me started to slowly rain down art. And sure enough, everybody starts running over. But meanwhile, I'm like in the right position, so I start jumping and grabbing. I finally like am able to bat one to the ground, and I tackle it, and I look at it, and it was an NFT one. And so I was like, holy shit, I just got my first Beeple. So I just went outside and just like basked in the glory of acquiring my first Beeple. It was a legendary night.
Congrats. And how much did you say you ended up selling it for?
Well, I used it to help get a mutant like 6 months later. But then, of course, I had to start acquiring Beeples to get Beeples back. So over the years, I was able to start to acquire several Beeples and start to get them back in my collection. And the one that fell, I plan to get back at some point. I have offers out and stuff, so I got to get back to Square.
Uh,
I needed to join the club, the Board ABR club, so
of course.
Beeples.
Can you tell us about like the? Sorry, I'm just real curious about this before we get into it. Like you said he has a basketball court size like digital art room, basically. Like
It's where
I
the
guess
party happens. Yeah,
where the what happens?
the party. Like the first part of the night, at least for the opening, was in the museum, and then the doors open for like the later part of the night, which is in this massive digital area, kind of like at Area 51 in Vegas that we saw where the keynotes took place. It reminds me of Beeple's, like the area in Beeple's studio that's got all the displays and where the party happens.
So just screens surrounding all the walls, and he's got like digital art on it, basically.
Must be 30-foot ceilings, like all around the columns, the tables, everything's digital. Feel like you're in the metaverse in the space.
I have a question, but I'm still gonna push my narrative that A-Fest is gonna be in Miami. So answer me this, Gucheetah. Can he fit the whole A-Fest in that studio in South Carolina?
I think so. It's in Vegas for the keynotes. Everybody was able to fit in that one room. I mean, really, I can't imagine you went to A-Fest Vegas and didn't go to the keynotes. And so I feel like it's a equivalent size, especially if they take over parts of the parking lot, or I think they could pull it off at Evil Studio.
All right, so let's get into your interview here, Gucheetah. So the first question I like to ask people about themselves is whether you consider yourself an artist first, a dev first, or a founder first, and then why.
I would say a founder and a creative. My friends call me an artist, but like I don't. I'm in the traditional world where like I'm not a painter. Like my creative skills are into bringing ideas together, telling stories, combining other people's talents, and repackaging, other artists and creatives into, being inspired by others, and then taking like a macro storytelling, a business perspective to it. My father was an attorney, my mother was an artist, so I started my career as an attorney, and then I was able to walk away from law throughout the years and start leaning into my creative side and focusing on my passions. So my creative, you know, endeavors started 15 years ago in the regular world, designing hospitality brands, and then doing the interior design, the brand design, the whole look, feel of these concepts, and that also led me into producing music festivals on a local level. We'd have international bands, but I'm talking like 50 bands, 5 stages, 2 days.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me interested in doing festivals is like branding the festival, laying out the festival, curating the lineup, and how the lineup flows throughout the day. Taking people on a journey from stage to stage, from music genre to music genre. Um, and so that was my Web2 world, was music and hospitality. And then got into crypto, and then when NFTs were born, I was like, this is awesome, because love crypto, and then I've been a big art collector in the traditional world, and then like that combined in Web3, and I kind of walked away from a lot of my hospitality concepts, and I've just been playing in this space since 2021.
I'd like to know more about the music festivals. I had like no idea that you were into that kind of work. So like it sounds like from a creative side, you're more like organizing events or organizing like larger projects with other artists together, rather than uh, are there any mediums that you tried yourself?
Well, in my home, I have art that I've created. A lot of it's collage, um, or digital. I mean, I am definitely an artist. I'm surrounded by my art, but I feel like to call yourself an artist, you probably should make a living off art, of being an artist, and so that's where I lean into like being a creative. Um, but yeah, the music phase of my life was a fun phase, and it's interesting. Like when I was able to leave law and focus on my passions, like it took me in directions that I never could have mapped out on paper. Like taking advantage of these opportunities. I got really far in the music business by just leaning into, first just booking bands at one of my one of my bars, and that led to booking bigger bands, and then touring bands, and then a music festival, and then multiple music festivals where I had international artists, which then evolved into a brewery. If you look at my pinned tweet, there's like video of like these days, but the brewery was all music inspired, and it was called Rock Brothers Brewing, and we collaborated with bands, and we made bands their beer, but the bands were involved in like the creative process. And so I never had that idea like when I started booking bands or booking music. But now fast forward, into like the late 2010s, now I'm business partners with some of my favorite bands growing up, like 311 and Revolution and Darius Rucker. And yeah, this is at I opened up a music venue. This is my venue, where we would, there's me with no gray hair at opening night. Um, but yeah, it was a fun phase of my life for sure.
So how did you, from all the directions you could have went, how did you land in the Web3 space to begin with, and what made you stick around?
So since like 2012, people were talking about Bitcoin, and I had this response, like a coin response, and it was like, "Ah, it's funny money, like it's nothing." And I said that in 2013 and 14 and 15, And I'm a curious person, and I'm a truth seeker. And so come like 2017, I'm like, somebody asks me about Bitcoin, and I'm like, I hear myself saying the same thing I've been saying for 5 years. And that night I went home and I'm like, do you really feel this way? Like you seem like you have a belief about this thing that you don't know much about. So then that night I like went home and started looking into Bitcoin, and I was like, dude, you're an idiot. This is, there's something here, obviously. And so then from like 2017, 18, I started leaning into crypto, and I was real passionate about crypto and acquiring all sorts of crypto and learning about crypto. And then, and like I said earlier, you know, I had been a huge art collector for 25 years, traditional art. And so when NFTs came around, which is, crypto with art and investing and collecting and making, and then I was just like so red pilled that um, I kind of just kept leaning deeper into it all. So crypto got me into the space, and the culture and NFT life world kept me in it, and then got me building. And me and you met probably 5 years ago in 10KTF, or 4 years ago or whatever, and then just history from there.
How did you find the Bored Ape Yacht Club?
So your first NFT, like maybe you're willing to spend $100, or maybe you're willing to mint for $200. And I got into, or I saw Bored Ape Yacht Club mint, and then within like weeks, it was just out of my price range for what I was willing to spend back then. Like, nowadays we'll drop 20 grand on an NFT if we can afford it. Back then, you slowly got to like work your way up to like rationalizing these big expenses. So Bored Apes, they were just always out of reach, and then they got up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I thought I would never join the club, which really got me into leaning into 10KTF, because through 10KTF I could have Bored Ape exposure, right, with these Gucci grails. They're Gucci IP and they're Bored Ape IP. So I was like, okay, I can't afford a couple $100,000 Bored Ape, but like my PFP's Bored Ape IP wearing Gucci, which I thought was so cool. And I still think that's such a cool collection. And I think that they're going to age so well. Their Genesis Gucci, like on the blockchain. But anyways, the bear markets and pullbacks kind of, can benefit you. So like when prices started to come down, I was on deck and jumped in when I could, when they got to a range that I could. But I always wanted to be in the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I always thought it was the coolest community, the coolest NFT collection, and just grateful that like a bear market allowed me to get in, because this is our first kind of bear market for NFTs, and most of the world thinks they're dead, but they thought that in Bitcoin's first bear market. So once digital assets can have a second a meaningful bull market, then we're off to the races, and we might not see things at the prices they are now. And I do think there's another bull market coming, and it'll happen with like certain blue chips. It won't be everything, but got to be positioned.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I still believe NFTs are the future of digital collectibles, and same story where Bored Apes are just like the biggest, the best, and that it's what drew me into the NFT space in general. Was seeing their story too. Okay, question for you. So you were one of the earliest people that I saw like with MBAs. Can you tell us about the MBAs you have and like what the process is like for getting one?
Yeah, so process is very easy. You just need an ape or a mutant, and then you apply for a license. I think that's still the way to do it. I started House OG before MBAs were a thing. Um, I did so my first ape was a mutant wearing a Hawaiian shirt, the M2. So I wanted to bring that to life, um, and I dropped 100 of the red Hawaiian shirts. They were all digital. They all had different rarities. The buttons were all different depending on rarity. Um, these birds were embroidered. So like the rarer one you had more 3D embroidered birds coming out of them. Um, it was an experiment. I wanted to contribute to the space. I also at the time wanted to create something that was a little bit higher level fashion from what we were seeing in the Web3 space. Back then everything was hoodies and tees. So my idea for House OG was to have like this like Web3 streetwear brand that did limited run pieces that appealed to the collecting culture that we're used to in Web3, and kind of like raise the bar in quality, and in types of garments. So this was the first drop, and sure enough, the community like supported it, sold out within a day or so, all 100 pieces, and yeah, that was my first MBA. Then the MBA's licensing came about, and so back then you were able to choose your MBA number. So, the first ones to go were like 420, 69, like those type numbers. I picked number 10,000, which is a super grail MBA number.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm honored to have, MBA number 10,000 for House OG. It was, like I said, the freshman year of MBAs. Shoot, I don't even know when this came out. When was that? 2023. So yeah, 3 years ago. Is that it? 3 years ago? 4 years ago.
Yep.
What's this year?
26.
26.
But yeah, so House OG, I would create a couple drops a year on that, have fun with that, flex my creative storytelling muscles, and contribute to the space. And then next came unboxing Web3.
I want to talk a little bit more about House OG first. So, have you had an interest in like clothing and fashion before House OG, or like done any of that kind of creative work?
Yeah, so in college, I had like a t-shirt business. I had a silk screen in my garage, and I would create my own designs, and I would um, do like runs for like the local church or whatever I could do to make money. Way back when I was a child, I would make clothing with my mom that I would wear to school and stuff like that. In 2020 to 21, once I learned about NFTs, I experimented with digital fashion, and this is what led to House of G. But back then, I went. I spent a couple months in New York City in the garment district, working with a vintage fashion house. They sold they sold these like rare pieces to celebrities. They had museum pieces like Norma Kamali parachute dress that was like in the Met, right? They had like these super rare. They had a 60s mod dress that Madonna wore on the cover of Rolling Stone. So they had these like famous collector's items, and so I took a few of them and created like one of one digital replicas, photorealistic replicas of these, shipped them in this like beautiful like tag that could be put into the garment without destroying the garment. And in Art Basel that year, we released this collection at the Faina, um, and and the idea is, people were experimenting with digital everything back then. And so the idea for these pieces were, archive these pieces of garment in protective acid-free sleeves, like in drawers outside of light. But this way you could display them either on your wallet or in a digital frame in your closet or your home or something like that. So that was like my first experimentation with digital fashion. And then, maybe a year later, uh, I was able, when I got into the Bored Ape Yacht Club, I was able to like do my own digital fashion brand. And that's where House OG came from. And House OG means it's like it's like the spot for all the OGs in the space. We're all OGs. It's House OG, but the OG also means of Gucheetah, so it's House of Gucheetah. And that's where that name comes from. But yeah, I was able. At that point, I was like, cool. Now I can do this for my own brand, and learning that level of fashion in the garment district in New York City was really cool, because not many people know this, or maybe people do, but before the internet, the garment district in Manhattan is where it was like a one-stop shop to create fashion. You had the button store, you had the seamstresses over here, you had the zippers, you had entire stores that are just mannequins or just fabrics or just you name it. And so I had this. I actually moved to New York leading up to the launch of House OG, and I would spend my days in the garment district, like finding seamstresses and finding the buttons and finding how to like create fabric templates for clothing, and it was, I was able to execute that Hawaiian shirt in a quicker time frame, being in the garment district and learning how things are assembled there. Because having to do it all like from Florida, it takes a very long time, because you got to order, you got to wait till they ship. There, you can just knock things out and move fast.
Yeah, I had heard a little bit about you being involved with the garment district of House OG, but I really had no idea what that meant. But that's really interesting. You mentioned that I think it was your like vintage project you're working on with the garment district. You said it ended up at Art Basel. Is that in 2021 when you were a speaker at Art Basel?
Yeah, so we launched at the Faina, and then I spoke at like a fashion event at the Faina. Yeah.
Can you tell us about, or anything special about speaking at that event, or?
It was just cool to like be invited to do that. Like that was my first time as a builder or as a creator or contributor to the Web3 space. So I was on a panel with some respectable people, and I knew, I was at the forefront experimenting. So it was nice to be able to be in the conversation. And like I said, I was a litigator, attorney. I like to speak. I like to educate about things I'm passionate on. So like that was an easy extension for me to go into. And then I kept that going forward with NFT NYC or wherever I can. I'll try to like, speak about these things.
Guccione, I muted you just, because there was an echo. So if you just unmute yourself, if you want to jump back in.
Yeah, I have a question before you guys go on another topic. So when is the next things that we can expect from House OG? Like, is there any new drops coming? Maybe before Ape Fest, maybe at the Ape, like, give us something,
Yeah, I have a few ideas that are like on deck, but a lot of things for me, House OG is like a passion thing, and it's dependent on being inspired by the space. So like with the talks of maybe Ape Fest in Charleston, I'm already, wheels are spinning. I've done an event at the last couple 8 fests, and so now I'm thinking about an event, for House OG in Charleston, if it's in Charleston. But I'm already like reaching out to venues, and but not laying too much track until we get some official announcements. But yeah, nothing's like super ripe, but always there's a list in my head of like things I want to do.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, DJs love the good merch and all that stuff, and you was having a history, and now hearing your story, like I didn't know that you work in a basically textile industry in New York and all of that stuff. So I think that would be a cool thing to see, more drops from you and stuff like that. And I have one more question before you guys continue. How was I mean, I know there's a big difference between buying art as like NFT art and the real life art. And my question would be like, can you tell us some more about that process of like getting the real life like art? Was it paintings? Was it sculptures? Like how was that thing for you?
Yeah, so back in 2000 and mid 2000s, like 2006, 7, back then, there was another emergence of a new genre of art. Back then, street art was getting very ripe. You had Shepard Fairey doing the Obama Hope poster in his street art style that really brought street art to like the global stage. Street art had started in like the 90s, maybe even the 80s, when graffiti started to turn into art and murals. Well, in like the late 2010s, with this birth of this new genre, where the trad art world were taking interest, and museums and art Basels and stuff were supporting and backing it. That's kind of when I got turned on to art. So I started collecting, whether it be screen prints or originals from these artists back then. I also back then helped curate a mural festival in my city, and so like the street artists back then were fucking rock stars. Art Basel during the 2010s were like, it was just such a cool genre, such cool artists. The interesting thing is, so I started collecting that type of art, which led me to sculpture. Like in my home, there's probably 50 pieces framed and hung, and sculptures all around, just going back 20 something years. But when digital art came around, this really got me excited, because I was running out of wall space, and my closets were getting filled with like framed art that I no longer wish to display. So I have at my house right now 5 digital displays. My hallway has 4 of them lined up. I have a huge Hero digital display in my living room, and there might be 150 pieces of art on those 5 frames. So like as a collector, there's all these benefits to digital art, the stuff we know, like they're, if they're good, they're liquid. There's no question as to quality. They're all mint. They're provable. Ownership is provable. But for a collector, they're also easy to display. You know what I'm saying? Like, and all 5 of my digital displays, they will change at the same time, and maybe all the artists change to a new artist, or maybe the color combination, the colors all change to a similar color scheme, or the style will change from like animated to like apes or whatever. And I truly believe that like every serious art collector will incorporate digital art into their collection. Like, there's not many of us doing it, but it in the last year with 010 at Art Basel, this is the first year that Art Basel has approved of digital art, on on the maximum level. And then with museums collecting it, like we're gonna, every serious art collector digital art and have a digital frame in their home or some way to display it. But that leads me to this like other idea, and it's a birth of a genre, right? So in the 2010s, like street art was the sexiest thing, and it woke up the art world, and everybody was collecting Banksies and these type of things. Over the last few years, street art has become like ubiquitous, right? Like every city has a mural festival. Like it's lost its sex appeal. It's no longer like, when we started Shine Mural Festival where I live in St. Pete, we were like, is this legal? Like, is this even possible? Like, can we pull this off? And now it's just like a given. And so you notice going to like Art Basel, I've been every year for 20 years. There's been a lull for like 5-6 years. Like the art world is wanting excitement back. And this year with Beeple's viral Regular Animals and 010 at Art Basel, like the art world is waking up to this genre. This genre has been around for several years, but the birth of the genre is like happening on a global macro trad art kind of world, and we see the excitement. We were early. The rest of the world is starting to see the excitement. I was at Art Basel, for 010, and people are like looking at Beeple's Regular Animals exhibition, and Beeple, his Regular Animals were producing art out of their rear ends. It was really cool. Like they would see images, and when its AI thought this would make for good art, the digital display on the back of the animal would say poop mode. I made an unboxing Web3 episode on this, but it would display poop mode. The dogs would like lean back and it would poop out art. And every couple hours, people would collect the art and hand them out to people. And I know Beeple. I know how he rolls. I know, he's going to be giving away millions of dollars worth of art, like just totally upsetting the art world. So I went like day one VIP preview before the rest of the Miami learned of this, and it wasn't that busy. And sure enough, like I got a Beeple NFT from a Regular Animal. I have it displayed in my home. It's not going to be sold. I did a post about it. I'll share it with you. It's pretty cool. But anyways, point of this is to say that I walked around and I was amped, and I was telling like just normal people, I'm like, go look at Beeple's exhibition. Like, get one of these pieces of art. They're like worth a lot of money, and they're awesome. They're history right now. And I'd have these conversations with these random people at Art Basel, and they'd be like, what's he giving away? I'm like, there's some of them are NFTs. And they're like, well, NFTs are dead. Aren't NFTs worth nothing? And I'm like, this right here just sold just now, not mine, but like there was already trading happening with these Regular Animals NFTs for tens of thousands of dollars. Yep. And so I'm like telling these people, like, go try to get this piece of art history. They're worth $20,000. And still the public didn't believe it. They still have the narrative that it's over, that it's dead. And so it is truly a birth of a genre. Like, we're early, but when you have the art houses auctioning them, when you have museums collecting them, and you have Art Basel putting them at the main fair, that's like all the check boxes for art world. Like, we've accepted it. It's here. It's not a fad. And go watch the Unboxing Web3 video if you don't know what happened in 010, because it wasn't just Beeple. It was 12 artists, and they're all the leaders of, Jack Butcher was there, XCopy, and they are defining what digital art is on the global scale. And each one of them, each one of their installations are so meta Web3. It's amazing. It's so cool. Like, what's defining digital art, Web3 art, is evolving canvases, deflationary components, mixing of AI and digital and physical and robotics, and this is what's defining this genre. It's tech, it's a story, it's living, and that's when the art world learns of all the 360 of it all. I mean, it's the fucking dopest genre there is.
Yeah, I love interviewing you. You're very well spoken about these topics. I was going to say that people must be doing something right if his work is so provocative that you literally can't convince people to take these like tens of thousands of dollars like from NFTs from the Art Basel.
Oh, the work got out quick, and it was a fucking madhouse at his display, at his installation for the rest of the weekend. Like, I mean, his installation. You remember the banana duct tape to the wall a few years ago? His installation was the viral thing around the world, and it was a digital artist doing digital art, and so they all got turned on so quick to Beeple and to NFTs having value like within hours of it starting.
Here's something I had pulled up that I just want to talk about with House OG. So like something you mentioned it a little bit, but I thought was really interesting when you were launching your first couple of products, like taking the rarity into effect and having different traits for your clothing. Can you like talk about like how you made that decision, and then also like exactly how the digital aspect worked for your House OG drops?
Yeah, so the whole idea was like I want to take all the things in our culture about like collecting and put it into physical. So like I wanted, you order a one of these. This was my second drop. It's like it had the logo, right? It was the logo piece, and you don't know what you're gonna get. You're ripping packages to like you're ripping cards, TCG or whatever, or you're minting a logo sweater. Did you get a rare with the rainbow teeth, or were you able to get a legendary diamond teethed one? And the way the drops work, most all my drops have some level of rarity into the physicals. It just depends on like what I can think of, like since this shirt doesn't have buttons, like I had to do it within the design. But you buy and you don't know what you get till you get it at your house, and some people would buy like 4 of them to increase their odds of getting like something rare. But the NFTs associated with them too have a rarity, and it's all experimenting with like how I can give utility for the NFT associated with it, that type of thing. But the drops will be promoted, and then will be hopefully sold or whatever. The Ape Fest, the last drop I did was the Ape Fest merch. I went full circle and went back to the Hawaiian shirt, but I did the M1 Hawaiian shirt, the green one. And for years everybody in the NBA community was like wanting to do a collab with Bored Ape Yacht Club, and I approached the Bored Ape Yacht Club like a few months before Ape Fest. I'd approach like once a year with ideas. How do we get this Bored Ape collab? How do we get Bored Ape on some NBAs? Like as a proper collaboration. And so I pitched them the idea of curating 4 NBA Bored Ape collab merch drops, and they liked the idea, and they trusted me, for being in the space as long as I have, and delivering. And I was able to curate 4 drops. Yeah, these 4 drops right here. And so so this drop was different, right? It was only for sale like through Bored Ape Yacht Club and Ape Fest. So I didn't have to like handle the drop mechanics on that one, but it was such a cool cool collaboration. I think the community loved the products, and the quality on all of them were great. And yeah, that was like a dream come true for a builder, in the space to like get the blessing of BAYC enough to put their name on it.
And do you have like can you speak as to like what that took as far as like building connections in the space, or like how you got to the point where you're doing regular drops with the Board Ape Yacht Club and you're like sponsored at all these events?
You know, it's easy for anybody to do. It's just you got to put in the time, and you've got to protect your brand as an individual. I like to think like back when I did my first drop 3 years ago, you always have it in your back of your mind, like to grow the brand and to maybe get collabs with Bored Ape Yacht Club or other brands. And so you need to show up, and you need to keep creating, and you need to be optimistic and passionate, and you need to be like you got to, if your Twitter brand goes off and is combative, or is this isn't what BAYC said. I'm just thinking like they're going to want to work with people that if they're going to put their $1 billion brand tied to an MBA, they probably have a huge checklist. And it's like, is this person like, are they going to be around? Are they going to stay around? Are they going to be able to deliver? Have they delivered? Do we want to associate with this person? Are they going to turn on us or turn on the community, or, so like all those things I just intuitively knew, like, let me just be a good contributor to the community, and let me, and you got to take your shot. You got to ask your ask, and you can't be butthurt when they say no, because BAYC said no to me many times, and you just, you just keep moving forward, leaning into something you're passionate about, and bringing that real energy, that authenticity to it helps. It's like look at Honey, G Spot, and Honeybee and Machiavelli, and like they were recognized very quick as builders who are passionate, who are taking the initiative, who are creating, and then like quickly they were like, here's a job. So there's also that, right? You want to, what you're building may not be the need of the club. Like it might take 3 years, like it did for me. For other games, they struck gold right when BAYC needed it, and they were put to work officially. But like if you're passionate, and if you're contributing, and if you're a good person that's authentic, then like you can like mold yourself and try to get in their radar, and but that's not like the only way to succeed, right? Like there's so many ways to succeed. This BAYC collab was like a blessing, but like that might be the only time it ever happens, and that's okay. They might tap to do it again. I don't know, but showing up and just doing it,
And congrats on landing that. That's really amazing. One more thing about House OG I wanted to bring up, especially while we're on the topics of you putting together events and like working with the club. I had this post I found. I'm not aware of the actual event, but it was a House OG happy hour fashion art show. Can you talk about this event at all?
Yeah, this was in Lisbon, and the idea was like I came up with I used to be a part of these art shows back in the day where I live, and like you come up with a theme, and then you challenge the artist to like create art that are on brand with the theme. And so this theme was traits IRL. So it was taking traits from Bored Ape Yacht Club or the Mutant Ape Yacht Club and we had a collection of artists that did physical canvases, and then we had, you know, most of the fashion people in the space create physical fashion items that were interpretations of traits. And this was like a Thursday night event in Lisbon, kind of to kick things off. And it was cool. We had a runway. There's some video online on all that, but yeah, you know, I want to, every time I think about doing an event, like that's another thing, like I wanted to contribute to the space, like, you know, up until, you know, like I want to do events that aren't that are unique and different, because, you know, you'll go to 8Fest or NFT NYC, and you might go to 20 events that are like at a bar and there's drinking, or a club. So like bringing a fashion and art show was something that I thought this event could stand out with, you know.
Let's get into unboxing Web3. So why did you start it originally? What was the concept, and where is it today?
So unboxing Web3, I mean, we might have started that 3 years ago. It wasn't too far after House OG, but you know, we were, you know, I'm a big collector of art, but also everything that we deliver in the space. You know, like 10KTF was delivering such cool stuff, like, you know, like the Kagami, or you know, Gucci codependent, or this Gucci, you know, super plastic ceramic. And me, and like I'm getting all these things, and like nobody's really talking about them on the timeline, or if they are talking about them, they're just posting a picture, and they're talking to only the collectors in their bubble. And so naturally there was a need for somebody to step up and create proper unboxing videos of all these products, to be kind of like the community of communities, right? Like we could unbox Gucci, Super Plastic, 10KTF, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Azuki. And if we could get a community around us, then we can not only expose all the communities about what all the other communities are delivering, but we can also then have a chance of crossing over to Web 2. You know, like when Artifact dropped Nike Air Force Ones. Well, when we drop our unboxing of Artifact, Clone X, Nike Air Force Ones, people are searching YouTube for Nikes, and then they come across these interesting Web3 Air Force Ones. Or Gucci, for example, people are searching for Gucci, and then they come across this ceramic statue, and then maybe we can red pill them that way as well. So we started, you know, I tapped Crypto Dilly, who was creating on YouTube videos for Speculation Alley back in the day for 10KTF. Remember that, Speculation Alley?
Yes.
And me and him had become buddies, and, you know, he knows the YouTube world and how to do all of that. I just had the idea, and so I was like, yo, you want to do this with me? And he was down, like. And so we started producing content, and then at some point we tapped the DAO. We put together a AIP proposal and asked for some funding so that we could put like marketing dollars behind these videos and get, you know, them seen further and wider, and then also focus on MBAs. And so we were able to get like a grant from the DAO, which allowed us to like hire editors and step up our overall game, and start marketing these videos and stuff, and getting a wider audience to view
them. Sorry, I had one more here. So, like, it seems like the direction has switched a little bit with unboxing Web3. I know one of your recent videos, you guys unboxed Figgy and his like new announcement, and I've seen other stuff. First I'd like to talk about the unboxing Figgy, but I also had another video that I saw where you were hosting like an ape chain spotlight under unboxing Web3, Miami yacht party with Gucheetah. So I guess first, can you tell us about like the new stuff that Unboxing Web 3 does that's not necessarily unboxing, the episode about Figgy, and then we can get into
so we, because there's only so many products, like we use the term unboxing loosely to unbox like what you're doing, like you're unboxing me right now. So we unbox the physicals and fashion and IRL events and people and gaming and just anything in the space. We will unbox it and tell the story. And so we've done a lot of those throughout the years just to keep having content. This was the first spotlight. Rita, he goes by Rita nowadays, but I call him Rita because I think it's more gangster.
I was all mixed up. I when I left, I was calling him Rita, and when I came back, everyone's saying Rita.
Yeah, I can't get the Rita. I like Rita better, but anyway. So he won the spotlight, which was a night out with Garga in Miami. But to my surprise, it wasn't just a night out with Garga. It was a whole weekend. We had a yacht the first night. We had every Ape Chain like curated this whole weekend with all sorts of cool shit. So I was invited down there. So I went down there and just captured what I could and did a short unboxing on his spotlight winning Miami trip. He flew in first class from Dubai, all on Ape Chain's dime for winning. He got a year-long membership to Soho House where he stayed. I mean, it was a big to-do. We need Spotlight back. Those were some epic prizes back then. Aloe won a Bored Ape. Like those were some big awards back then for awards.
Can you tell us what Spotlight is for people that missed it?
Spotlight was a like a social-fi type thing when that meta was like peaking, where you could if you did certain tasks, you earned points. Like some of the tasks might be like buying Ape Chain NFTs or sharing posts or whatever, and there's a leaderboard, and then they had like just stacked prizes. I think they did 2 rounds of Spotlight. And then it's all experimenting and morphing and moving. I think the social fi meta is like come and gone. So, everybody needs to then see what the next thing is.
What is your favorite thing you've ever unboxed on Unboxing Web 3?
Like physical product?
Yeah, probably a physical product, I'd say.
Shoot, I don't know. I really like that Gucci ceramic. I thought that was pretty cool. The Air Force Ones, those blew me away, just like because they were collabs with Nike, and the quality was just so well done. And to see like Web3 DNA on sneakers, those were fun videos. I really enjoy unboxing the IRL events. Like, we'll go to NFT NYC and make like 10 videos during the week of NFT NYC or Ape Fest. Ape Fests are awesome. Oh, okay. One of the coolest ones is we did the BMW driving experience in Lisbon, where they had these BMW cars that were all decked out with Bored Ape Yacht Club, and you had a VR headset, and there was a track. And so you're driving this like fully loaded BMW ape sports car in the metaverse and seeing apes and all the branding, and you're driving in real life. And we were able to have that experience. We unboxed that. But yeah, I'd say doing the IRL events are the best, because me and Dilly, sometimes we'll have a camera guy, and we're just like, our job is to like capture cool content at these events. And so we can like cover a lot of ground, and it gets us to meet, really cool people or builders or, network at that high level. We unboxed with Josh Ong in New York City. he had this like $100,000 like Louis Vuitton trunk that was a Web3 product that only like 10 holders got. It was like this probably the grailest of the grail luxury Web3 crossover. So like we unboxed that with him in his studio, and so the old stuff, like we learned to we've gotten better at it as the years have gone by, but I certainly have improved. But like I look back on some of the old videos and I'm like, you know, you just can't be afraid to put yourself out there and experiment, you know?
Yeah. I had this video that I saw just while you're on the topic of Nike. They're showing off House OG clothing inside of this video. You want to talk about it at all?
This was like a huge honor. So that guy his name's I Am Supermassive. Back a few years ago, he had this like weekly metaverse show where everything was motion captured, and he would have these he would give the weekly update on everything happening in the space through an avatar in like this digital world, all projection mapped or whatever. And I became friends with him because I loved what he was doing, and he surprised me. This was my third drop, was the cheetah bomber, and it's the mutant cheetah fur. It's like it's our Bored Ape Yacht Club DNA, the mutant cheetah. It's got a unique cheetah print, and so he surprised me with this by showing off the new Air Force Ones with Artifact alongside the House OG bomber, and it was like another one of those, like, are you kidding me? Like, that's fucking so cool.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Okay, a little bit of a topic change. So you'd mentioned 10KTF a lot throughout the interview. Obviously, we all met through 10KTF. I'm wondering if you could give like your opinion on Figgy taking over the club and like some of your history with Figgy and 10KTF.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before we went live today, and you already know because you know Figgy from back in the day. This dude is a genius. He's brilliant as fuck. Like for those that weren't around through the 10KTF days, what he was able to create with that project is just incredible. We were the most excited, engaged community out there. He kept us on our heels, looking forward to every week as he would story tell and evolve the story over the years. He thinks so meta, like so many steps in advance. In that unboxing Figgy video, one thing that's an example of how Figgy thinks is, at the first meetup for 10KTF, before it was even a thing, he handed out seed phrases to like the most passionate community members. And then the story goes on week after week, years go by. And then 2 years later, this story is picked up from those seed phrases. Those people who had those seed phrases, we were getting some clues, and then like maybe Netta was like, oh my God, this is all happening on Discord and Twitter. It's like our seed phrase is activated. There's an NFT in here. And then like everybody else got together that had those seed phrases. We had to track them down. And the NFTs that were in their wallets advanced the story. And this is how Figgy thinks. Like ended up speaking to Figgy, years later. And I was like, you didn't know what you were going to use those seed phrases for when you handed them out, did you? He's like, no. And I was like, but you knew you would find a use for that tool like later. He's like, yes. And I believe he's planted those seeds throughout his career. And so we'll see things come back alive, maybe from other things he's done, or he's planting seeds now. And so you're always like, he's just brilliant. And he's our only hope. It's like Star Wars. It's like Figgy's our only hope. And he's he's the best person for this role. And that's why I doubled down with another Bored Ape. That's why I've been stacking ApeCoin. Like, I believe in him. I could go on and on, but I'm real excited for him at the helm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, and I think that the level of speculation. I don't know if Bored Ape Yacht Club is used to that. He used to have us running with 10 KTF like tinfoil hats on basically everything every week. Like people have full shows, just pure speculation on what's coming next in 10 KTF. So I thought that the like Ape Fest posts were like a nice taste of the level of speculation that the Bored Ape Yacht Club can probably expect from Figgy. But
yeah, he's starting with it, and 10 KTF appears not to be over. It's like his banner on X is 10 KTF animation, and they're building a cartoon or an animation of it, and apparently they've confirmed other sides. So like, to what degree 10 KTF will be reactivated, I don't know, but like Figgy's going to surprise us, I'm sure, with everything, with a lot of things.
I feel like they've got to be working in silence, and it's just going to be like some blockbuster return. That's at least what I think is going to happen with 10 KTF. Okay, well, Guccione, did you have any other questions for Gucheetah? We'll probably wrap up here.
No, honestly, I've been just sitting back, enjoying the conversation. Everything that he's talking about. It's like I just love it. And while you were playing his videos, I could see the rest of the house, like how many pieces is there and all that stuff. Like, yeah, it's just amazing individual that we have here.
So, Gucheetah, as a closing question, so what advice would you give to someone that's looking to become a founder in Web3 but isn't sure where to start?
Just start with something, anything, and let the path kind of unfold for you. The thing that it has me so turned on about Web3 and the space we're in is once you get caught up on like everything, you're kind of arm in arm with Figgy, with Beeple, with the three of us, with anybody else, and we're like walking all forward. We're and we can only see a little bit in front of us, and so we're all walking and we're inventing where this story goes, this collective story, because it's new, it's uncharted territory. And so the person that will succeed in Web3 is somebody who can butterfly themselves or bumblebee themselves from interest to interest, flower to flower, and let them, it's like the Fruit Loops guy, like follow your nose, like just don't be afraid to fail. Don't put yourself out there, experiment, riff off of what other people are doing, start a space and drop a space because now you're doing this. That's okay. A lot of people don't want to start something if they can't see it all the way to its end and they can't map it all out. That's not the space for this. The meta changes too often. Me and you, Grammy, we used to do spaces on Gucci like years ago, and like we weren't afraid to like pivot, and like you just got to go with your passion, go with your whim, show up with authenticity. And when you find something that might be a little bit sticky, lean into it and don't be afraid to like drop it and find something else. Like this is your 5th episode. You've always been somebody who is like wanting to contribute to the space, and like you're trying this out, and I think you're doing a great job. Like the animations and like the type of content and having the video, like this is cool. And you're leaning into it, and you're not afraid to try things out, and just have fucking fun. And like, if you can peel off some coin here and there, fucking blessings. But like, it can't be about the money, initially at least. But I think you find that like most builders in the space, like if you're concerned about money, like people sniff that out, and like you're gonna find that's a dead end anyway. But if you're interested in the space, just play, just fucking play, and then then like jump on something that might be a little bit sticky and learn from it.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliments, and also that's fantastic advice. I thank both of you guys for joining, Guccione and Gucheetah. You guys are some of my best friends in the space. Gucheetah, you're one of my favorite founders, so this has been an honor to interview you here for our fifth episode. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm honored to be invited to this. If anybody taps me and they're interested in anything I'm doing, I always feel honored, and I love talking about all of this. And so thank you for having me as a guest.
Of course. All right. See you, Guccione. See you, Gucheetah. I'm going to cue out with the intro, and we'll end this stream.
All right. See you at A-Fest.
See you at A-Fest.
내 웃는 장구를 열어왔고